Hello Apex Servers viewers, welcome back to MuleSoft for Salesforce Developer Sessions. This is another session, Developing APIs Part 3. So let's see what we can discuss for today's session. So we will be discussing about recap of previous sessions. Then we will be starting to connect with external systems. So that is the reason I have jotted out some points like things to remember when connecting to external systems. And a HTTP requester we will be going to discuss, which is very important because in most of your projects, whenever you are connecting to another API, okay, if you are developing APIs, likewise someone else might have developed another API and you want to consume that API, right? So in that case we will be using HTTP requester. Then we will be seeing couple of connectors, choice connector and scatter gather connector, and that's all for today's session. Without wasting time, let's discuss what we have discussed previous sessions. We have completed our data view 2.0. So we had 3 sessions on data view. Guys, data view is really important. You have to do hands-on, though it is like certification purpose or interview purpose or real-time projects. Data view is really important. Then we have discussed quite a few syntaxes like reduce, plug, flatten, group by, distinct by, and how to create functions. All this stuff we have discussed. So please do hands-on if you haven't done already. You can always go through my video, pause it, do, and if you have any questions, you can drop a comment in our comment section. Now, things to remember when you want to connect to external systems. First of all, what are external systems, right? Remember when we are discussing about what is integration domain, that means we are just mediating between two different systems. Like we are like a broker, right? You know, you are grabbing the data, sending to someone else, or you're exchanging the data, exchanging the information. That's all what you do. The exchange of information can be taken place from a database to database, database to Salesforce, Salesforce to some other AWS. These are all external systems. So external systems can be like a database, Salesforce, it can be SFTP, or any external web services, which means APIs, okay, etc. So whenever you hear the term external system, that means it is a different system apart from your API, okay. Next, the first thing that you need to do when you are working on, if someone asks you to develop an API to connect to an external system, for example, it can be a database or another web service, all that you need to do is you have to gather all the configuration details that are required to connect to that particular system. For example, if you have a database that we will be covering in our coming sessions, database requires a host, a port, a username and password, those details, right? Probably Salesforce, you might need a username, password. If you have a token URL and a token, all this stuff, right? These are called configuration details if you want to connect. For example, if you want to log into Facebook or Instagram, you need a login ID and password, right? So similar to that, consider in that way, okay. So gather all the configuration details that are required to connect to that particular system. Next, see what is the request that particular system is accepting. Suppose there is a API that was developed by some other person, okay. He must have had some API specifications, like what is the kind of request that is accepting, right? And what is the security that is required to connect that particular system. For example, it might need additional authentication, or it might require a API key. Those are security things, right? Because not everyone, that API is not developed just for everyone, correct? We will also see how to apply policies on our own APIs, but whenever you're connecting to some external systems, this is really important, like what kind of request that is accepting, what kind of security that is required, and what type of response that it will send, okay. So these 3 things are really, really important whenever you start developing things, okay. Next, and good to also know how much time that system is taking to respond to us, okay, so that we can configure these timeout responses whenever or wherever you see. Suppose it is like by default it will be like 60 seconds, but if your external system is taking more than 60 seconds, for example 90 seconds, then we have to configure our timeout response with the same time. All right, so these are the things that you need to remember when you want to connect to external system. So let's start with HTTP request connector, which means we use HTTP request connector to call other web services or APIs. Both are same here. Okay, so HTTP request connector is used to call other web services. So we are with the external systems concept, we are going to first try to call another web service using HTTP requester. Then it can be placed only in the process area. Remember, if I when I explained HTTP listener, I might have included this point, like HTTP listener can be placed only in source, because that is where you are calling, you are receiving the request, you are listening to the request, so that is listener. Here you are requesting someone, that's why it is called as HTTP request. Okay, and it can be placed only in the process area of a flow or private flow or a subflow. Next, we should make sure that we send all kind of proper inputs to HTTP requester. It can be URL, I will show you in the hands-on as well. It can be a URL, it can be a method, it can be input payload, what it is accepting. Input payload can or cannot be there. Okay, then external service. Okay, attributes like query parameters, headers, whatever the other service. It's like, you are going to your colleague's home or your friend's home. They have some set of instructions to come to your home, right? For example, they have a way, and there is a way that you have to follow to go into the living room, right? You have to follow the path, all this stuff. So it's kind of something like that. There are some set of instructions that person might have configured from their side, and we have to follow those instructions. So this is how the requester connector, HTTP request connector looks like. And few more informations. There are some mandatory configuration details. Again, whenever you are connecting to any external systems, it can be a database, it can be a web service, it can be a Salesforce, there are some mandatory configuration details required. Those are like protocol is important, method, URL or path. If you provide the whole URL, then port, base path are not required. But if you give the path, then host, port, path are necessary. I will show you in the hands-on section, but please remember, if you are providing the whole, I always go with providing the whole URL, because I love that, because it's very simple to configure, but it is always like based upon your best practices that they are following in their organizations, you can configure. All right, and you can pass body, headers, attributes, query parameters in their respective tabs. So we will see that in the hands-on, but all this time I'm talking about like calling other web services, other web services. Then how to call other web services? In your real-time projects, you must be having some APIs to call, but we are doing some practice, right? We have to see what are the open APIs that we can try it out for our practice, okay, and which are for free. Okay, in that way I have seen this weatherstack.com. so I want to try to check the weather, the current weather. Okay, for that, this weatherstack came up with a free API. Okay, all that you need to do is sign up to this weatherstack API, or if you find any other APIs, there can be a lot, weather APIs. If you weather API free, there are like a lot of APIs that are available. One which I found it for free is weatherstack API. So please sign up for the free account. It is free, and it doesn't ask any credit card details or something. Once you have signed up, okay, this is the page that it will come. Go to the dashboard and you will get a key, access key. I'm going to delete this because I am going to reset it, because you can access this as well. Okay, so once you get this access key, you can click on this documentation. Okay, so let me go to documentation, is already there. This is API documentation. I told you, right? Whenever someone is developing an API, they will have some specification. That's what we have done in Exchange, correct? We have developed our API specification using RAML, and we have published to Exchange. Likewise, this is kind of a documentation which weatherstack has provided to us, and we can see like what is the URL, okay, what kind of request it is accepting. Here you can see this is the DNS, okay, URL till api.weatherstack, and the resource name is current. All the time we are using test, right? Likewise, the resource name is current, and you can see a question mark here, which means the question mark is nothing but you are starting with query parameters. There are 2 query parameters it is accepting by what I am seeing here. This is all the documentation, so this is how you have to decide. Okay, you have to read the documentation, what are the mandatory fields it is required to get the response. Okay, then you can see access key. Okay, I got access key from here, I can pass that. Okay, fine. And query, you are passing the city name. Okay, I fine. And once you hit it, you will get some responses. So they asked me to try it here, run API request. Okay, you can see here I am getting all these details over here, but I have my API key. Next thing what I have done is I went to Postman. okay, and I went and dropped, again, when you copy paste the URL, it is giving. So here you can go and copy, okay. For now it is HTTP only. HTTPS is a paid version, so HTTP. And I have copied my access key. I just copy pasted all the URL and all the stuff, and I clicked Hyderabad, for example, and send it. I'm getting all the response. You can see, okay, you can see my location is Hyderabad, country is India, region, latitude, longitude, then probably the current weather or the time it is showing, like whatever it is, observation time, wind, etc, 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 humidity and all. Okay, so this is what it will give, the weather details. So for example, if I need some weather details, you can always make use of this API and to get the response. Okay, this is our requirement. Now this I have manually copy pasted in the Postman and I try to send it, right? But now let's try to do that using in our Anypoint Studio. All right, so let's get back here. Go to my Anypoint Studio. Okay, you all know that we are using this transfer message, blah 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 blah. Now let's follow the rules of our APIs. So where is our this one? Yep. So mandatory configuration details and all. Before that, we have to go with things to remember. Now things to remember, gather all the configuration details. Yes, I have some configuration details, for example, like key, okay, and the URL, etc. Yes, I do have configuration details which are required. Security, I think that is the API key that here we are using. Next, we have to see type of response. I have already tested it and I saw the type of response, but I don't really want all these details. That is what APIs are meant for, right? If I send this, if someone is asking the temperature in Hyderabad, if I send a response like here, and a person who is non-technical, does he know what all information it is, right? No, we have to modify the response. So I will say like, hey, the current temperature in Hyderabad is 22 degrees Celsius. Okay, this is like in Celsius probably. So 22 degrees Celsius. That's all I need here, right? All right, I know that type of response and type of, see what is the request that particular system is accepting. So that request is nothing but it is probably get method. Okay, send it, yeah, get method. And what is the request that is accepting? It is accepting two query parameters. One is access key and query. Okay, that's all I see for now. So let's go and configure it. Okay, so now there is a HTTP request component. So HTTP request, here you can see this one, drag and drop here. Let me delete all the other loggers and all the stuff here. All right, so this one, okay, this is our data view session, ignore. Now HTTP requester, as I always say, first the display name has to be changed. Okay, so whether API, this is something. So you can see this is a listener and this is a requester. Listener is you are listening to a request. Requester is you are requesting someone else. Okay, this is our API and this is someone else API. Okay, so configuration, that is mandatory details, right? So mandatory configuration details, just click on plus. In my scenario, everything is by default. I am using protocol as HTTP. I don't want to give any host and port because I wanted to use the full URL. Okay, I wanted to use the full URL. So just click on OK. Okay, and coming back to our documentation, because I always follow the slides, like whatever I'm reading I wanted to show you. Like I told, like it can be placed only in the process area. Let me put my this thing here. So process area, this is the process area, that's what I told here. And URL, method, input, payload, blah 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 blah. Okay, URL and path, this section I told, like if you provide whole URL, okay, then the port and base path are not required. Now what I will do is, I have my Postman here. Let me first take till the base path, okay, till the current. I'll go here in the URL section, I can paste it as it is. If I am enabling FX, then you have to put this in double quotes, because this is a, what do you call, this is kind of a string, right? So I can use in either way. Like if you are not using FX, then please remove the double quotes. Okay, okay, fine, I have configured the URL. Next, what is the other thing? query parameters. So here, is there any body in the request that it is asking? No, there is no body that the documentation is showing to provide. The only thing it is asking to provide information. I told you, if you remember in our previous sessions, the request can be in any form. It can be in query parameters, URI parameters, body, headers, anywhere. But here, this API is accepting only two query parameters. One is access key. I will go here and I will go to the query parameters section. Here, there is a separate section here. Remember, you can pass body, headers, attributes, query parameters in respective tabs. These are the respective tabs. Okay. So I will click on query parameters. I will click on plus symbol here and then go on FX. This will give me the data view view. Okay. So click on FX. By default, it is always application Java, and now you have to pass this key and value. So what is our first query parameter? Our first query parameter is access key. So go here, and what is the value? Value is nothing but the value that I have it here. Okay guys, again this is for free, and if I refresh this, you can see already I have sent like 6 requests. So I think by default it has only 1000 requests free, so try to use it wisely. Okay, so value here in real time also, whenever someone, if I told you right, when we are discussing with make my trip example, so whenever they are calling some different airlines like Qatar, Air India and all, it's not that it is free for make my trip. They have to, you know, subscribe to those APIs. They will pay for the APIs. That's why you will get all those internet handling charges and all right. Access key is there. Again, you have to pass one more, which is nothing but the city name. Okay, so query, that is nothing but the query here. So query. Okay, query instead of hard code. So first let me hard code the value. Okay, Hyderabad for now, because this is the first time I am creating, so I always go with this process. All right, then after that, what I always do, though it is not required, because you can see by default it is a JSON response that you are seeing, but it's always good to keep a transfer message and simply keep the same application JSON and type payload. It's always simple, you know, there's nothing wrong in doing this. All right, so we are good with this, and let me run it and see. I will just run it. This I am running on my local, so let's see what is the response. So now you are consuming the API. So let us create this one. So test is my name. Now I don't want to pass any parameter here. So this one, when I run, it should get the same response that we are getting from the weather API. Okay, it is deployed. I will send the request. You can see I am getting all the information that I used to get when I directly hit this API, right? Now you should ask me a question, Shravan. When it is the same response, why you want to develop an API and do all this stuff? Why can't you just call this API directly, right? Yes, there is a purpose here. As I said, like, I don't want to, first things first, here every time I send it, I'm getting the, you know, temperature for this city. Okay, but I don't want for only one city. I want something like, I want to pass my city name here, because imagine if you are using this particular API by a layman person who don't know anything about technical things. He doesn't know what is meant by query and what is Hyderabad. Like, you know, why should I send this city name inside a query? So it should be something meaningful. So what I want to do is, if I type city and pass Hyderabad, then it should give the response here. Or London, if I say London, it should give the temperature of London. Okay, so first let's make that change here. How to do that? You know that you are passing your query parameter. Okay, what I will do is, first of all, I will save that particular query parameter into a variable. Okay, city name, I will give that one. You might know the syntax, attributes dot query params dot city, because this city I am passing here. Okay, city, I am saving it here. Why I am doing this? Like, again, I told you, right, whenever you are connecting to external systems, attributes will override. I will stop the application. I will use the debug mode so that you can see. Again, have some meaningful name here. It's always better to copy paste the display name here from here. This is the city name, and here we need to make a change. What is that change? Always we are like, if you go here in the query parameters, always we are hard coding the city name as Hyderabad, but in this case I want to dynamically pass the city name. So I have stored my city name where's dot city name. Okay, now whatever city name you are passing, it will come over here. All right, so now let me debug. And why I am debugging? Again, to show you how it is going from one connected to another connector. That is the how we are passing the mule event. Everything what it is passing from one connector to another connector is a mule event. Okay, let's wait this thing to be deployed and keep a breakpoint over here. I will show you some observations here. Okay, again we will be discussing about the concepts of scope of variables, attributes, etc. Now this is deployed. Let me send the request here. Okay, now I am passing London here. Okay, imagine that I am passing London here. So if you go and see, city name is London, and you can see still my attributes are present because I am on this blue dotted line is on that HTTP requester, which means it is not processed yet. And you can see query parameters here. Once I am crossing this, you can see now the payload value is overridden. You are getting some details about London temperature, and you can see the attributes. You don't see your query parameter here city anymore, because I told you, right, attributes or the query parameters or the attributes will be overridden with the new values or no values when you are connecting to the external system. Now just resume it. You can see London temperature, which is 14 degrees. Now if you can see, like New York is done. For example, let us take another city like Dallas. Okay, send it. I am not going to use this again. Now you can see Dallas temperature here. Okay, it is 27. Clear? So this is how you can ask your consumer to pass a city name, which it is better than passing that as a query. Now as I told, again you can do that. You can explain to the consumer here also to saying that query is nothing but city, and you can do it. So what is the purpose of us creating a API again, right? So I told you, right, we don't want all these details. I want something like the output should be like the current temperature of the city name is Dal, whatever is there, this one. So for that we have to use data view. That's where data view comes into picture. Now I told, like, now here I am trying to put all the data, all the information what is coming from API. But now that I know the sample here, the data, what I can do is hello, okay, plus plus, or here only I can say hello, the current temperature, where is our temperature? Yeah, the current temperature of the city name. City name, either I can use like payload dot location dot name, or I can also use the set variable names. Then you will understand the concept of why we are using set variable, right? So what I will do is of where's dot city name plus plus double quotes. I will give a space because so it will be like something like hello, the current temperature of Dallas is plus plus. Now we should know where the temperature value is being displayed. It is here. If you consider this as whole payload, it is payload dot current dot temperature. Okay, so I'll go with the same syntax. If you don't know, you can always use data view playground. Like for example, if I copy this test payload, and if you go to data view playground, this is only for once I am going to show you, but hereafter I will be directly doing this. So just put it here. So whatever syntax you are writing, copy this. Okay, try to put it here, So city name you won't get hit here because we are not saving any payload dot where is the city name, location dot name, okay, is payload dot current dot temperature. Can you see here, right? Hello, the current temperature of Dallas is 27, right? More simple. So I know this syntax now. Okay, I will go here and I will paste it right away. Either here you can use either payload dot location dot name, or you can also place vars dot city dot name. For now I am keeping as it is. Okay, then save it. Now I don't want to run in a debug mode, I will run in a run mode so that we'll see it better. Okay, it is deployed. Now if I send the request, can you see, hello, the current temperature of Dallas is 27. This makes sense for a user, right? It is better than getting all these details, right? That is the advantage of developing an API. Okay, you are trying to process the data. We are all playing with the data. Either we are exchanging the data or transforming the data. Here in this case we are exchanging the information by transforming the data. All right, now if I pass Hyderabad, I come from Hyderabad, so I will say Hyderabad. Hello, the current temperature of Hyderabad is 22. It's like dynamic. Then London, send it 14, right? What if I pass a city which is not existing? Blah 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 blah. There is an error here. Why? Here, when I pass some different name in our actual API, this is WeatherStack API, and send it, can you see, success is false, and we are not handling that scenario in our current API. So how to handle that? That's where our next concept comes, choice router. Okay, this is really important, guys. So choice router routes the messages through a flow based on evaluating an expression. Okay, only one of the routes in the choice router executes, meaning that whatever first expression that evaluates to true triggers the route's execution, and others are not checked. It will not even go to that next process. Okay, if none of the expressions are true, then it will go into the default route. All right, so this is how choice router looks like. You can add as many routes as want. For example, 1 2 3, it will go in the sequential order from top to bottom. So if the first expression, can you see, there is like payload dot name equal to null. For example, if that condition satisfies, it will always return to true or false. So if payload dot name equal to null is returning to true, it will go to the first router and it will not go to the second and default. Okay, it stops there because first condition itself is satisfied. But if it is going to the second router, that means first one is, it is checked, it is giving false, and second one it is checking. Then if it is giving true, it will give the second one. If none of them are happening, when none of them it is returning true, then it will go to default. All right, mandatory configuration details are expression is mandatory, okay, which checks some validation. The result of the expression should be either true or false, nothing else. You cannot keep like concatenations or something like that. Okay, expression can be empty, but you can't keep empty expression. It will not deploy your application. And remember, this is very important for your certification purpose. If first condition is satisfied, then it will not go to the other blocks. It will execute the first satisfied condition and block and continue further. All right, let's see some hands-on. So let's take our situation itself. Now let me stop the application. Okay, now debug the C and see what is the response that we are getting at this point of time when I'm giving a wrong city name here. First I will give you an example. When we are discussing here, we have another component also, scatter gather. I will explain do that with this scenario, weather API scenario, and afterwards I will explain in general terms. Okay, this is deployed. Let's see by debugging. I will send the request. Okay, this is where debugger helps us. Okay, how to handle the situation. Now next, okay, I am getting some response, but that response is nothing but success false here. So what I have to do is, now if I go here, what it is happening, it is failing. Why it is failing? Because here there is no payload.location name and no payload.current.temperature, because my payload doesn't have that. If you go to the payload here, my payload doesn't have all those details here. That's why concatenation is failing. The payload.location.name is null, and you cannot do plus plus for a null value. We have seen already we have covered this already in our data web sessions. Okay, and also one more thing I wanted to recap is, this gives you the full Mule event. Okay, I told you, right? Mule event is a combination of Mule message plus variables plus error information, right? This is the error information. Whenever you get error, this occurs only when there is an error. And Mule message is nothing but attributes plus payload. Attributes and payload, and variables are separate. All right. So again, now we have to handle this scenario. Now what I will do, I will keep a choice router by checking if payload.success equal to false, then I will say like you have requested a wrong city or invalid city. Okay, we can mention. Okay, what for that I need to know the syntax. So what I will do is, first, using choice router, I told it should result into true or false only. I cannot put just like payload.success. This is giving the false that is coming from the API, but you should say like if payload.success equal to false, that is true. Okay, because the value is coming as false. What I will do is, I will copy this one. Okay, I will resume my thing, go to my design mode. In development mode, you can't see Mule palette. We are in debug mode. This I have already explained you. Okay, go to design mode. Okay, now drag and drop the choice router. Okay, choice router is here. This is how it looks. When condition, can you see here? When condition, you don't have to do anything. You can drag as many connectors as you want. Okay, now you can add as many targets, as many conditions as you want. If you drag and drop here, there should be a black vertical line. Then if you drop, it will add, black vertical line. We have to be careful. Let me drag another one. Okay, like this you can keep on adding, okay, as many targets as you want. But here I have only two scenarios, correct? I will delete this. I have only two scenarios. One, it is failure, and rest everything is default one. So what I will do is, whatever we have written this one, right, we can put it in the default section. Okay, and here I will delete this and drag and drop another transfer message. Okay, and I will write something like this, because I want the user to be user to read the message properly. So I'll say, hey, you have requested a wrong city name, and pass the city name what he passed. Okay, now what he passed here, what we have done, we got payload.location.name, because for success response we are getting that name. But in our scenario, we won't get, like when you are passing a wrong city, it will not be there in payload.location.name. Now you will get the use of variables. That is one of the use cases whenever you are confused, like when we have to use set variable in these kind of scenarios. Okay, because your weather API is not giving any city name in their output when you are passing a wrong city name. Okay, like this. Hey, you have requested a wrong city name, this one. Okay, now this will fail by deploying the application. Why? Because I am not writing, I am giving an empty expression here, right? Remember, you click on FX. Okay, here it might have failed already. It will fail. I'll show you. Yeah, it's already failed to deploy. It is saying like element when is missing, required parameter expression. So you have to mention this expression. Click on FX. You have to click on FX for sure and paste this. So now whatever request is coming, what are the output you have from the HTTP requester, you are validating that if payload.success equal to false, then please go here. in the first router and give this response. If this condition is not satisfying, it will by default go here. That is what we wanted. Okay, this is our scenario. Now let me save the application. Alright, the application has started. Let's debug the application again. Send the request with the wrong city name. Okay, there is no city with that name. So here we are. Go here. See how the payload that is written from the requester. Success, false. Now if payload.success equal to false, it will go here. See how the debugger point is going. Okay, it is going here. The reason is the first, so it will execute one by one. Okay, as this is like success, if this condition is satisfied, it is going here, and it will never go to default because this condition is satisfied, and it will come after this. Okay, and go here and see what you are saying. Hey, you have requested a wrong city name, blah 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 blah. Now if I pass the correct city name, Hyderabad, send it. Now your payload is different because it is a success response, and this condition is not getting satisfied. So but it will execute this condition first. It will go step by step. As this condition is not satisfied, it is going by default, and you are getting success response here, right? Hello, the current temperature of Hyderabad is false. So that is the advantage of. Now I'll remove the debugger point and see one by one. Like again, London, if I pass, if I send the request, it say hello, the current temperature of London is 14, and if I pass some other random name, hey, you have requested a wrongs. This is the use of developing an API, and this is the use of choice router. Okay, choice router also you will be getting couple of questions in your examinations, so you have to be very good, guys. This you cannot, this should always return true, or either true or false. It should not be like randomly if you remove payload.success, the expression will fail, because this expression should always lead either true or false. Yeah. Now let's stop the application and see what is our next connector. Scatter gather. The name itself is like scatter and then gather, right? First scatter into multiple, how many targets you give, okay, multiple requests, and gather all the information at a time. Okay, so scatter gather sends the request message to multiple targets concurrently. This is important. Okay, concurrently means simultaneously. And then it collects the responses from various targets, aggregate them into a single message. Okay, very simple. It's very simple, not complicated at all. Then it executes routes concurrently instead of sequentially, unlike choice router. Choice router, it is going sequentially, first one, second one, and then third one. But here scatter gather, it will execute concurrently instead of sequentially, but it will wait till all targets are executed. This is very important point when it comes to scatter gather. It will wait until all targets are executed. Output payload is always the combination of all targets, and each target output has whole Mule event. When I say Mule event, payload plus attributes, like you won't be having variables, I guess, but the output, each target has the output with payload and attributes. So next important thing, it is always best practice to wrap every target within try block with on error continue. This try block and on error continue I will explain you in error handling sessions, because if any of the target fails, that is my next point. If any one of the target fails inside scatter gather, the whole process will fail. Okay, that's the reason it is always best to wrap your payload, each target within try and on error continue. But that part I will explain you in the error handling session. This is another important certification point of view question, or in your real-time projects when you're working. The total time taken to process all the targets is the maximum time taken by one of the targets. For example, concurrently you are sending 5 requests to 5 targets. One target is taking 1 second, second target is taking 2 seconds, third one 1 second, fourth one 2 seconds, fifth one is taking 3 seconds. Then the time taken to execute this scatter gather to get all the responses is whichever is having high response time, which is like 5 seconds, right? The fifth, I told you, the fifth target is taking 3 seconds. So the time taken to process all the targets is 3 seconds. It's not the combination of 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3. Okay, it's always the maximum, because by the time other targets are also processed, because it is concurrently processing. So this is how it looks. Okay, scatter gather. And this is how I told you, right? Multiple targets. So 0 is the first target, 1 is the second target, and you can see attributes, payload, etc. And if you want to get only the payload value, you can always use like payload of 0 dot payload, that will give the first target value. Payload of 1 dot payload will give the second value, something like that. Okay, let's do the hands on. Okay, and let's try to apply that scenario in our case. Okay, for now let me delete choice router. Before deleting, I will keep this transfer message separately, because I want this transfer message. For now this is not required, because in my use case I'm not going to use this. Let me delete choice router and keep this one here. Now I have a requirement where I will pass, okay, I will pass two city names, okay, through body. You can pass it using query parameter, or you can pass it through body. Okay, my requirement is I will pass something like this: city1 and city2 equal to Hyderabad, and I want to get a response with the two city details, weather, temperature. Okay, how to do that? That's where I told you, like, we use scatter gather. See what I'm doing here. Drag and drop scatter gather here. Put this first HTTP requester here in the first target. Again, the black vertical line is very important to place it. Okay, what I will do is I can copy paste, or I can just use another HTTP requester and paste it here. These are multiple. This is what I am talking, multiple targets. You can add one more also. So these are like multiple targets. Okay, whenever it comes here in the scatter gather, whatever Mule event, when I am talking about Mule event, it is variables, attributes and payload. All these three of them, it will send a copy of each Mule event to each target separately, concurrently. It's not like it will execute the first one, then it executes the second one, and then execute the third one. All three will parallelly execute and come back here, and I will show you what is the type of data that it will have. Okay, for now I want only two targets, because I want only two city details. That means, see, this API can handle whatever API weather stack API that we are using, right? It can give only one city at a time, so I cannot help that. Now that is the beauty of this developing APIs. Now there is another type of requirement for the customer, that when he is sending two city details, he should get two city details at a time. So that's why we are developing this API to get that functionality. Okay, scatter gather is there. For now I will delete this one. You can do, like, you can click on this, copy, Control C, Control V, or if you are using Mac, Command C, Command V. Okay, there is another weather API. So I'll change the display names first, so that it will be easy for you. City name 1. Okay, city name 1, and I can drag this and keep it here in the, whenever you see black vertical line here, it will come down. Okay, so let me first stop my application. It is stop. Okay, yeah, here, this is another target. So let me put here this as city name 1. City name 1, and here in the query parameters, okay, where's dot city name, but I will change this name to city name 1. Okay, and here also what I told, city 1 and city 2 I want to pass. Okay, now I have to store two variables. So what I will do, instead of dragging and dropping, MuleSoft has this another good feature, copy paste, Control C, Control V. So change the display name so that you won't get confused. City name 1, this is city name 2, and this would be like city 2, and this one is city 2. Very easy to copy paste things, right? But be careful when you're doing copy paste. If you miss any one of them, you will get into trouble. So this is one. Okay, query parameter, I change the name, click on FX. Okay, this is city name 1 now, because my variable name changed to city name 1. Go back here, Okay, and okay, why are we having true? Okay, I'll keep as it is. Then go back here, click on fx, this is city name 2. Okay, and give it like city name 2. Is there anything else I have to change? No. Okay, save it. Now again, this kind of information you need for each one, so put it here, Control C, Control V, put it down here. Okay, every time when you are doing here, so here for transfer message, if you want to change the display name, you can click on rename here. Okay, put it here. Okay, now I have two targets which calls this weather API concurrently, parallelly, with two different names, and we should be getting this request. Okay, now transform message, drag and drop one outside of the scatter gather, and just observe the output, how it looks like. Okay, payload. Again, we will try to organize the payload, but for now let's see how scatter gather works. I told you again, this when you are running in a debugger mode, scatter gather will show you different ways, because I told you, right, this executes parallelly, so you might not see that functionality on the screen when I'm debugging, right, because it goes randomly here and there. But please remember that whenever there is a request, when you pass this scatter gather, two threads are passed simultaneously, parallelly. Okay, and but for example, if this first target, time taken for the first target is taking 5 seconds and time taken for the second target is taking 10 seconds, it will still wait all the targets, means there are two targets now. It will wait for the two targets to complete, and then only it will come to this transform message. Okay, it is not something like, when this first target is completed faster and it will come immediately to transfer message. No, it will not do that. It will wait even for the second, it will wait for its friend to complete their process, and then only it will come here. Okay, and the time taken to process this scatter gather will always be the maximum time that this target is taking. For example, my first target is taking 5 seconds, my second target is taking 7 seconds. Then to come out of this scatter gather, the maximum time the time taken to come out from the scatter gather or process the scatter gather is 7 seconds. It is not 12 seconds. In your certification questions, they will give you options like 12 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds. It's not 5 plus 7, because within this 7 seconds only, those 5 seconds, because it is parallel, already those 5 seconds are utilized, and it got their response, right? So this is 7 seconds. All right, now it is deployed. Again guys, you might not be seeing it properly, so London and Hyderabad, two things. Okay, you can see here there are two variables now, city name 1 and city name 2. Okay, now it will go randomly. Okay, it will go here, then here. I am showing you this is something like it will run parallelly here, here. Okay, and when it comes out of this, now you can observe the payload is something like this. In my screenshot I have shown you, this is the first payload of 0, which has all details of which is the option. What is this? Let's see, let's resume it and see how it looks. Okay, so this is how the scatter gather output looks like. I will minimize this. There are two targets, 1 and 2. There are two targets. The first target is the details, which have all the inbound properties, attributes. So these are attributes, just minimize, not required. And payload, can you see here payload? Here we don't want attributes, but can you see the payload? Hello, the current temperature of London is 14. Similarly, if you open expand 1, but I wanted to show you that scatter gather has all the inbound attachments, payload exceptions, payload attributes, everything except the variables. Variables will not be shown. Okay, in your certification questions again, they might ask what is the output of a scatter gather. You should say like it is the combination of attributes and payload. Okay, and this is an object, it's not an array. You can see curly braces, so it is outside part is curly braces. This is an object. Now you have two targets. First payload is the current temperature of the current temperature of London is 14, the current temperature of Hyderabad is 22. Likewise, in this way, can I do that using here in the actual weather stack? No. So that's why I developed an API for the user to get more than one city. Okay, now I will I will enhance this a bit. Okay, I know that this payload, I want only these two payload values. Okay, for that what I know, to extract only this value, it is payload of 0 dot payload again, that is the syntax, and then payload of 1 dot payload, or always best practice, go to your data view playground again, place it here as the input. Okay, remove this. Okay, I'll say pay, so I'll say like keep it like this. First city, temperature, so payload of 0 dot payload. Okay, this is giving hello, the current temperature is this. So that is the use of data view playground. Okay, so I will just copy paste again this one, paste it, second, this is giving this one, Hyderabad temperature. Very simple. So what I will do, I will copy paste everything and paste it over here. Now I will not run in a debug mode. Okay, I will run in a general mode. Okay, it is deployed, and if I run it, you can say my response is more sense, it makes more sense now, right? This one. And if you want to pass Dallas and send it, you can see Dallas. If you want to send like Moscow, right, you can see here. So this is how this scatter, gather and choice router works. Okay, I wanted to reiterate, I'm not sure if I have given the summary, so let's discuss the summary. What we have discussed so far, we have seen HTTP requester, how to connect. Okay, then we have seen choice router, then we have seen scatter, gather. Please don't forget to remember all the points that I have mentioned, like, because that are really important for certification point of view. So choice router, you have to, so let me quickly go through the choice router by dragging and dropping another listener just for your understanding. Okay, here what I wanted to do is go here, put choice. Okay, put choice here. Now what I want to do is, I want to check very simple thing. Okay, drag and drop here. I will set a variable. Okay, I will pass some names like fruit. Okay, fruit, and I will pass some fruit name in the attributes, query parameters, query parameters dot fruit. Okay, now I will add one by one. So set payload here, apple. I'll just simply keep apple. This is apple, or I'll just keep apple, it will be more easier. So here fx, again you need to click on fx for expression. I have to evaluate like vars dot fruit equal to apple. Okay, and set payload. In certification question they will not give all the detailed questions, so they will give mostly like, most probably like, okay, this, they won't show this value here. Okay, that they are setting. By looking at this screenshot, you have to understand that the value that is set is apple. Okay, that's why I'm giving that. Next, again drag another set payload here, banana. Okay, and again expression here, vars dot fruit equal to banana. Okay, and if there is no fruit, wrong fruit, it will give here, right? What I will do is here, no fruit. I will give the same in the display name, because I told you, right, that is how it will be asked in the examination questions. So they will give only the screenshot with the display name. So okay, now my whatever based upon choice router, the output should be like that. Okay, let me deploy my application. So all good here. Yep, let me run the application very quickly. So whatever fruit name, now let me put another request, localhost, this is choice, right? My resource name is choice. Okay, payload, like instead of payload, what we have given, fruit. Okay, fruit equal to apple. Okay, let's see what it happens when I'm passing apple with lowercase a. Okay, oh sorry, I have to debug so that you can see properly how it is working. So let me put a variable. Okay, let's see whether if you are looking at this, you will never go to this place. Okay, you have to always check console whether it's deployed or not. Now let me send the request. Okay, now you have to guess in which of this target. So it will go sequentially. It will execute first, it will execute second, and then it will go to default. Tell me which of these will go. Now which of the targets it will route it to. Why it is going to default? It has first executed this, which means it is not going properly here. To verify that, what you can do is vars dot fruit name equal to or vars dot fruit, right, equal to apple. Okay, when you evaluated, that is giving false. That's why it came out to the second target. Then it executed that you won't see it here, but it will execute. Okay, second it is checking, that is also false. That's why it is going into default. Why it is not going to the first one? Because it is a case sensitive. Okay, evaluate, it is small, but if you give small a, it will return it to true. Okay, so that's why it's saying no fruit. Okay, but if you pass apple, send it, next, and it will not execute second and third targets. That you cannot see here, but and you are getting apple, right? Let me do one thing. Let me put a logger or something at the end, or payload, set payload at the end, and just put payload here. Okay, you will see that this second and third targets are not being executed. Let it rerun. Alright, it started. So send the request. So it is here. Next, it is satisfying the first condition because it is returning to true. So I told you, right, this choice condition should always return to either true or false. Equal to apple, that will result either true or it is false. Okay, boolean. And then it will go here. It is not executing. Can you see? It is not executing this one and this one. It will go here, and you should see apple. And if you type banana, send the request, it will go here. It will directly go here to the second router. That doesn't mean that it is not executing the first. It has executed first one, but it is giving false, so it went to the second router. And go next, you're getting banana. And if you give some random number, send it, it will execute first target, second target, both are giving false. That's why it will go to default. Alright, so this is about choice router. So coming back to our scope, so we have discussed HTTP requester. Please do try it out. Please make use of this open API, which is for free. I already probably might have sent multiple requests. So already 29 times I have sent it. Okay, and then choice router, very important. Scatter gather is also very important. Please don't forget this point. The total time taken to process is the maximum time taken by the individual target. All right, so this is all about developing APIs part 3, and please do follow us on social media in Twitter, LinkedIn, and our website. And also please do follow me on MuleSoft-TechZone YouTube channel, and on LinkedIn, Shravan Lingam is my name. All right, and we will see you in the next session. Thank you.